Lauren's here, and that is great. And this is, as challenging as the Karen Reed retrial is, the Diddy case is just downright nauseating. So can we bring her in and kind of get some details? There she is. Oh, she's there. Lauren, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys? I mean,
good.
I'm tired, but I'm good. In order to get into the courtroom, I've got to get up every day around 5 to get to the courthouse by about 6:15. So come Friday, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of like, but yeah, all good.
So tell us, give us, as best you can, a thumbnail. Where are we in the case? What's next? And how do you think it's going?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting week. I'm sure you guys heard the defense move for a mistrial. I think it was, it was 2 days ago, maybe yesterday. I can't even remember at this point. But this week's been the first week we've actually kind of heard some real foundation for the RICO charge. And I think that's where the mistrial, I guess, kind of came into play, because the line of questioning the government was doing with the arson investigator, and this arson investigator investigated Kid Cudi's car being blown up. And basically, the government kind of alluded to the fact that a piece of evidence went missing at the LAPD, this print card that was taken from the trespassing incident of Kid Cudi's house, which was in December. And they wanted to compare the two. The prints they got off the Molotov cocktail, or the DNA they got off the Molotov cocktail from the car explosion and the trespassing incident. When they went to get these print cards, they were destroyed. And so the government asked the arson investigator, well, did you ask for this evidence to be destroyed? You were the lead investigator here. He said no. They asked some more questions before that. But then when they said, was it unusual that this evidence was destroyed? That's when there was an objection. And essentially, after this break we had, the defense came back and said, look, a huge concern for the jurors was the fact that they think celebrities can pay their way out of these situations. People like Diddy do it all the time. So they can't unhear what they just heard. So we move for a mistrial. The judge, said no, because they didn't object right away. They only objected after they asked, was it unusual? So what happened was the judge instructed the jury to disregard the question and disregard the answer. And that was that. So that was a big moment that we heard about. And then we heard from Capricorn Clark, one of his very close and trusted assistants, as well as Mia today, and she doesn't finish until Monday, who is also victim 4, was an assistant and worked with Diddy at his Revolt TV network.
Can I ask you a question? Is she named in the indictment as a victim? She is named as a victim in the indictment?
Yeah, Mia is a pseudonym. So she's very much like, she even talks down like that. And we're barred from describing kind of obviously what she looks like, but she kind of talks down. She's very quiet. It's hard to hear her. But yeah, so she and Capricorn Clark, I feel like, have really started to lay the foundation of the RICO charges, because, we've heard some things here and there, but I think at this point the government's starting to tie it together a little bit more. But Mia also alleged that Diddy sexually assaulted her multiple times, and it's very clear during Brian Steele's cross-examination that Diddy feels 100% like this was consensual. And there was a point this afternoon where Brian Steele kind of like, he was very even. He was doing a good job of not really badgering Mia, which I thought was smart. And he just kind of goes, well, isn't it true that all of this, these sexual assaults or these incidents that you're speaking of, they were consensual, something like that. And Mia was even like, excuse me? I thought it was quite a moment. And then he kind of dialed back a little bit because there was an objection. But, it's tough. I mean, you've got a woman on the stand who really has testified to some awful treatment, right?
No, we can't even go put it on the air, right?
No, and it's like, I understand Stockholm syndrome. I understand why you can't leave. And Mia has even testified about just her personality traits. I'm a people pleaser. I'm this, I'm that. And so this is why I couldn't really leave. This is why I put up with all of this, because, she's talking about how Diddy traumatized her so much that she can't hold the job because of her PTSD. And then you've got the defense pulling up pretty much everything that she's ever posted on Instagram, which is telling Diddy that she loves him, how inspirational he is. I could go on. Like this girl, Mia, was very sweet seeming, very sweet, very much you could tell. Like it was tough, but she's trying to explain why she did this. And she actually even cited well, I'm not a doctor, but my therapist says this. Well, if you talk to a trauma expert, they'll tell you this. She was very well informed when it came to that. You can tell she's been working on this and working on herself. But, I think certain people, you really have to explain and break down what a RICO charge is. And I'm just going to say this. I haven't been offering my opinion too much, but what Diddy put his employees through, I'm going to say namely the women, because we have not heard any testimony about him beating up on a guy. Like, yeah, he overworked the guys and they had to do some shitty stuff, but he never kicked them on the ground. He never slapped them. He never threw stuff out at him. No, Mia is not the missing one. That's Gina. Gina is the missing one. Or the witness who didn't return the prosecutor's calls, and her lawyer didn't either. But we've heard Gina's name a lot. But yeah, so I just lost my train of thought by answering that. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But no,
I think it's important for people. It's important for people to know with regard. But I'm interested in the RICO thing. First of all, somebody's very upset with Brian Steele. It's a huge shame that Brian Steele took the dark side in this trial, but that's what defense attorneys do. You can't.
That's right.
Everyone has a fair trial. But I'm interested in the RICO. There was things on kidnapping and the firebombing because that's the real issue here. Is the RICO, right?
Yeah. So Linda,
what was that? What was that about?
I feel like when it comes to the RICO, so far, everything we've heard could be countered with some reasonable doubt by the defense. This actually goes back to Cassie's mom's testimony about Diddy demanding $20,000 from her to not release these sex tapes of Cassie. And I say that there's reasonable doubt because this is a witness testifying to this, which I believed her, that's my opinion, but a juror might want to see, some paper trail because she said someone from Bad Boy sent over, wire info where she should wire this money. And she actually said that Diddy returned the money 2 days later. So you could have a juror that says, well, we didn't see the evidence of this. I don't know if I believe her. He returned the money. Is it extortion? I could see that argument happening, as well as the arson in terms of, and the quote, kidnapping of Capricorn Clark, because Kid Cudi filed a police report. And there was female prints or DNA lifted off of the Molotov cocktail bottle, which was an Old English bottle. So we've got that. And then when he filed this police report, he spoke to Capricorn Clark, who kind of said, and these are two separate instances. I'm sorry. So that's the Molotov cocktail. The kidnapping was when he broke into Kid Cudi's house and took Capricorn Clark with him. She testified he had a gun and took her there and she had no choice. And, she called Kid Cudi and Cassie and said, he's in your house. He's got a gun. Well, the defense asked Kid Cudi, well, did you tell the police about this kidnapping that you heard about before? And he said, no. Well, did you tell them about a gun being involved? Because Diddy had a gun, you heard. Wouldn't that be important? And he didn't. So, these police reports are important because they don't mention Sean Combs's name at all. And same with the arson investigation. Technically, it's still pending. He said it's still open, pending, although inactive. But the people he called, Kid Cudi told him to call Cassie Ventura and Capricorn Clark because they might know something. Never mentioned Sean Combs.
Wow. It's a powerful weapon, this RICO, but can you prove it? Can you put all the dots, connect them? It's difficult sometimes. The jury's got to do a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
This is not simple.
It's funny because Sheila's question, this reminds me of Karen Reed because it depends on who you ask. Like, does the prosecution have a strong case or do they not? I mean, I feel like the juror instructions are going to be like a day and a half because at this point, you don't if you don't know the definition of these charges and you're sitting in the courtroom, I mean, you're going to say this is a DV case, this is an assault case, this is a hostile work environment case, this is a civil case, besides the DV and assault stuff, you know, which the statute of limitations is up. But if you go through the definitions of the charges, which I have, you can see where everything comes into play. However, I think that if maybe this was a state case and some of these things were brought up to a DA might say, you're kind of reaching here. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of, but it's horrific. And it's very obvious as to what's going on and what's happening. So it's just so hard to verbalize sometimes, because I see what they're getting at. I see, even today, Mia said that after Cassie's lawsuit dropped, one of Diddy's security guards called her and said, I want to send you a gift. She took that as money. She didn't get a gift. She didn't take the money, but it's like, we see what's happening now. So I'm trying to look at this case from an unbiased perspective. So I don't want anyone to get upset with me when I say like things like I just said, where some of it could be reaching, because all of it is awful. All of it is dark. I walk away every day feeling so sorry for these people, so effing bad for them and what they had to deal with. But it's sometimes I'm just like, is it going to be enough? I don't know yet. Week 3.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, Sheila Duffy has that question after 2 weeks, 3 now. Do you think it's a strong case for the prosecution? Just in
that's
general.
What I was. Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel? You know, we're not. How much longer do they have in their case in chief? And do you think they're getting where they need to get, just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I that's what I was kind of touching on before. But they have about. They said they're going to probably go 6 weeks. It might run a little bit shorter than 7. They said they may cut some witnesses. I'm really hoping they do. I mean, we heard from a hotel manager at the La Hermitage Hotel, didn't even get cross-examined because he just was like, yes, we added $1,000 for extra cleanup for his room because there's oil everywhere and candle wax. And it's like, yes, we get it. It's corroboration, but my God, it went on for a really long time, the questioning. And, you know, you're sitting there, the jury's falling asleep, where it's like, we believe that he used baby oil during freak-offs. We know he destroyed these rooms. We're aware. So let's move on. So I'm kind of hoping they cut some of those witnesses, you know?
Yeah. So well, you know, Linda, sometimes attorneys can just go crazy. You know, attorneys are deep in the woods sometimes, and they don't, you know, they don't, you know, hit the high points and move on. Sometimes they're a little too much.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions for you. The first is, you're in there, so you get to see the jury. How are they reacting? And the second is, how are you? Because I know after the first week, I was worried about you getting PTSD, and if you have it, the jurors have it. So I guess they're interrelated questions.
You know, I'm okay. I mean, the first weekend, I think did I tell you that? I kind of woke up at like 4 a.m. kind of thinking of just some of these situations that Cassie described, that some of the witnesses described. And yeah, it's tough because as a woman, and as I'm also, or I guess I used to be more so a people pleaser, and I would always just try to work so hard to make my bosses proud and make everybody proud of me. And so I kind of understand that mentality where you go back to this, you know, someone who's kind of not that nice to you. I mean, now I'm 40, I've changed a lot, but my 20-year-old self, I can relate to what they went through, you know. But in terms of the jury, it's been tough. They've been very difficult to read. I have seen one woman, she kind of has like a smirk on her face a lot. I noticed this during the cross-examination specifically of Don Richard. And because Don Richard, I feel horrible saying this, but I felt like she really got ripped apart during cross because of some inconsistent statements she made about a death threat, which goes to RICO. And so that was kind of hammered on. And this juror kind of smirked. There's 2 men. One of the men seems really into like reading all of the documents. He seems to sit there and really just focus. And another man just looks very perplexed the whole time. But other than that, they're super stoic. There's one guy that walks in every day with a huge smile on his face, stares at the press. Like he's kind of like, who's going to buy my book? Like who's going to, it's kind of weird. But yeah, right. It's kind of, I don't know. But
so
yeah,
remind us, there's 6 on the jury. What's the breakdown, men, women?
So I think it's mainly men on the jury. There's on the actual jury, there's 4 women, 8 men. and the age differences are crazy. I feel like deliberations, I mean, it's going to be a battle of the generations because you've got only 3 people under 40, basically. That's it. And then you've got many of the jurors in their 60s and 70s. So I think they're gonna go head to head on some of this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot to take in. A lot to take in. What do you expect next week? The final question for you, I guess. What do you expect next week?
No, I mean, we're going to continue with Mia on Monday, but we don't generally know the witnesses until pretty much the day before. And that's kind of how we found out about Kid Cudi the day before. They kind of announced it and all the press ran out of the courtroom. And I think it was Complex that got the exclusive to say Kid Cudi's coming on the stand this week. But yeah, I'm not sure just yet. I actually ran out of the courtroom today when the jury left. So they usually discuss some of that after, but I didn't get to hear, and I have not checked any other outlets so far. So maybe they didn't announce it, but I expect that, we're going to hear from travel agents that help book some of these flights for the escorts from different cities.
And that's important. We're talking about Mann Act violations, transporting people across state lines for illicit purposes.
The charges is the transportation to engage, and they were discussing some of that this morning. So I feel like they're on the docket next, but I could be wrong. But I feel like if there's any more big celebrities, we're not going to know until a day or two before.
Yeah, I get that. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, I'm concerned for you. So get some sleep this weekend. Get some sleep.
I'm going to try.
And you will be fresh and ready to go next week. And we wish you the best, and we hope we can check in with you on occasion to keep us up to speed on this.